morning are from Thich Nhat Hanh. Spiritual practice is not just sitting and meditation. Practice is looking, thinking, touching, drinking, eating, and talking. Every act, every breath, every step can be practice and can help us to become more ourselves.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I woke up this morning on my horizon, 3 little birds were on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melody blowing true. And they said, this message is you. They said, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I woke up this morning on my horizon, 3 little birds were on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melody blowing true. And they said, this message is you. They said, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
I love the kid running back and forth in the mirror.
Okay, so how many of you have seen that video of Rylan before? Any of you? You're welcome. I saw it back in 2020 and I thought it was the sweetest thing ever. And then when I was looking for something for the prelude this week, I was like, oh, I should go get that video of Rylan Clark singing. And then when I looked it up on YouTube, there were other videos where people had added some music to go along with his a cappella singing. And it's just such a sweet, it's a great song anyway, but his singing it to you, as you can imagine, in 2020 when the sky was falling for us, was a really great connection. And we're talking about spiritual connections today, and I just thought that was great. And now folks are trying to give back to him as well because he has Lyme disease, and so it's just kind of this big full circle wonderful thing. Anyway, I wanted to share it. I hope you enjoyed it. And you can find videos of him singing on YouTube whenever you need a little cuteness or pick-me-up and reminded to breathe and settle in. It's a great thing. So anyway, good morning. My name's Laura Thompson. I'm the minister here. I'm a short white woman with gray hair on the rounder shape of things. Today I've got brand new lavender pants on and a new jacket. I was visiting my sister in California recently, and we like to go shopping, so I went shopping. So I feel good about myself. Although I'm told that this jacket doesn't look that great on camera, so Zoom and YouTube folks, sorry if this is buzzy for you. To be noted, we need better lighting and better cameras. My pronouns are she, her, and also helping out with today's service back on tech are Kathleen and Ian. For ushers, we have Andrea and Holly. We had greeters, Barb Gillian and Nancy was down there, and I'm not sure who else. Mimi was there. I think Mimi also brought some treats. And then downstairs, we have people working downstairs too with the children today. Christina Marshall, Carla Reese, and I think Marissa Grady may also be here. So it takes a village. Thank you for everyone who's helping with today's service. We come together today on the sacred homelands of the Dakota people and endeavor ourselves to be worthy co-stewards of this land, centered on the grounding value of love, wholly aware of our interconnectedness to all. We want to give a special welcome to anybody who might be joining us for the first time or early in their journey with us. If you haven't filled out the visitor form downstairs, that will get you on our email list, which is great because then you get our Friday email. The newsletter later this month kind of lets you know the things that are going on here. There's also a green visitor packet downstairs that we invite you to take home that has a copy of the summer newsletter in it and just some like welcoming information, so check that out. Whatever has brought you here today into this shared space, may you find the compassion and comfort and companionship that you seek. And I just want to open the space. I don't think I have any announcements this morning. If I did, I forgot them. But does anybody else have any? Kind of a quiet time of year, but I don't think there's. Board meeting is coming up a week from Monday. Here, I remember it now. Jeannie's voice of "Don't Forget" is coming through loud and clear. Jeannie is camping this week with her boyfriend, and Maria is camping this week up at Camp Unistar. So I'm here, and also who's going to be here this week is the Needlework Guild. So they normally rent space from us. You know, they're here once or twice a week, but they're having a retreat here next week that's going Wednesday through Saturday. Is that right, Betty? Betty's on the Needlework Guild. If you're interested in Needlework Guild stuff, talk to Betty. Anyway, they're having a retreat here, so they'll be here all of those days. So those of you who may come in to do church work, some of you volunteers occasionally come in and out, just know that they're going to be here, so just kind of be respectful as you're coming through the space if you are during that time. And Jeannie also told me something about styrofoam, but I can't remember if it was to remind you to bring it or quit bringing it. I think bring it still, but boy, do we have a lot of styrofoam. So we're still doing the styrofoam drive, so if you have styrofoam, bring it in. That's part of our Ridwell recycling. By the way, if you want to know more about the Ridwell recycling, you should ask Jeannie, or you should ask Judy. Judy, hand up. She knows a little bit. Yeah, it's through the month. Through the end of the month, you can bring styrofoam. So, you know, which is great, especially if you buy a new TV or some kind of big appliance or something that's got a lot of the big stuff packed. So those are announcements, unless, Lorna?
Panera Tuesday.
Panera's still meeting every Tuesday at?
No, first and third.
First and third Tuesday at?
1:30.
1:30. By the way, Mahjong meets here every Monday at 1. I think poker maybe is also still going on. Check the website or the newsletter about that. Also, those of you that are on committees, make sure you're looking at your email because those meetings will be starting up, some of them this month. So, great. I think that's it, right? Okay. Let's join together in our chalice lighting. Our words today for that also come from Thich Nhat Hanh. We have a lamp inside us.
The oil of that lamp is our breathing, our steps, and our peaceful smile.
Our practice is to light up a lamp. And our opening hymn is The Oneness of Everything, which is hymn number 1052. And I forgot to write on here which church offered this video up. Maybe it says it in the video. Please join in singing as you're able. want to mention also that the flowers up here today are shared in honor of Ed Prell. We had his celebration of life service on Friday. Each week, we set aside a few moments to lift up the joys and sorrows and concerns of those gathered here. If you're here in person and you have something to share, you can raise your hand and somebody will come along with a microphone for you. If you're on Zoom, you can write it in the chat and we'll read it out loud here. And folks on YouTube, you can use the chat or comment area there to share things that are on your mind today.
Good morning, it's Barb Gillian. I just wanted to give a quick update on two of our members. I visited Mary Waters, who's now living in an assisted living facility called Sweet Living in Eden Prairie, and it's really not that far from here. If you take Old Shakopee and cross 169, then you turn right and it will eventually be on your left. But Sweet Living Eden Prairie, she loves having visitors. She's doing well, except she's very weak after having sepsis last year, so she's not walking much. And longtime member Jan Wolf had a pretty serious case, or has a pretty serious case of COVID. She is on the mend and never had to be hospitalized, but she did go to the emergency room because her systolic blood pressure was in the 50s and her electrolytes were way out of whack. But I'm sure she'd appreciate a card. Jan Wolf. And one happier thing. If you were here, was it 2 weeks ago that we, as a group, rewrote the Lord's Prayer?
I think so.
I used that as a grace at a family dinner with my stepdaughter and her family this week. They're Lutheran and they loved it. So yay for us, huh?
I just want to thank everybody that came to Ed's memorial service on Friday. It meant a lot to me and also to my family. And we had a wonderful weekend of celebrating with all the family from California and Washington and Oregon and Birmingham, Alabama and Chicago. It was an amazing weekend.
Let's just make sure the mic's on too, so that otherwise people on Zoom can't hear.
Yeah, is it on? Yeah,
There we go.
Sounds like it. All right. My sister has been working on her gender transition for a few years now, and about 6 weeks ago, she finally got her bottom surgery done, and her recovery has been very good, no complications. She's recovering very quickly, so very happy about that.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to say this or not, but I'm going to be 77 years old tomorrow. And I have begun a course of Pilates.
Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Patrick. Happy birthday to you. And anybody else with birthdays this week.
Hi, everyone. Is it working?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is my mom was admitted to the hospital last week. She hasn't really been doing a good job of taking care of herself or going to well, she kind of doesn't like doctors, so she was avoiding the primary care doctor. So they say she had a mini stroke. She had a clot, they're not sure from where, that traveled to her brain, and her blood pressure was really high, so it took a few days to bring it down. But she did go home from the hospital yesterday. Seems to be doing better. We'll have to be better about medication from now on. But thank you, everyone.
So I told a few weeks ago my grandma is in hospital. So they found out she had stroke twice and she has a clot in her brain as well. She is still in the hospital so next Tuesday will be 2 weeks and she's gonna be discharging next Wednesday. But still, they're like still figuring it out, like make sure that the clot or leak doesn't come back. And she has an MRI coming up, fingers crossed. Hope she kind of does well.
Okay.
This happened to my father's mother as well, and fortunately, she's making an okay recovery. She's not back to 100%, and she needs a caregiver, but she has some quality of life. So there's something to look forward to after a stroke, especially one that's not major.
Is there anything on Zoom, Kathleen? No. All right, well, we lift up the joys and sorrows shared here today alongside those that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. And will you please join us for the sung response? All right, so last month we were, which was just last week, we were talking about meditation and sabbaticals and retreats and that type of thing as routine spiritual care. By the way, I wanted to bring up, I was talking, Barb was telling me about using that version that we rewrote of the Lord's Prayer for grace, and it reminded me that also, I think I may have mentioned that another good piece of scripture to do that with is the 23rd Psalm, where you just kind of take those words and you're like, oh, these words don't work for me, but get the gist of it. And this could be important for you coming up because, yea, though I walk through the shadow of the election season. You get where I'm going? You know, I shall fear no evil, I will get out the vote. Like, you can use some of these things that are already there as frameworks to kind of rewrite it for things that you're going on in your, that's a great one when you're going through something tough and challenging. I'm using the election as an example, but it works for that, right? And again, that's one where it gets read a lot at memorial services, and it can help reduce your cringe factor if you have one over that kind of stuff, and just help you relate to other folks of other religions, especially Christians, because there are so many of them here in this country, right? And a lot of them are our relatives and friends. So if we can understand them better, and you know what Barb did, that's great. You know, I know they're talking a lot about the divisions that we have, but here's a way to like come together across some of those divisions. So check that out. Anyway, so we've been talking about all these spiritual practices, and you know, some of them retreats and sabbaticals and those kinds of things are more like periodical things. But today we're going to talk about things that we can do in our daily lives, or things that we might already be doing that we can reframe as a spiritual practice, just to have those little moments of centering. So because a good spiritual practice can help us feel calm and centered, and it can lead to healing and rejuvenation and a deep sense of inner connectedness. So this stuff is hardly ho-hum, right? In fact, for today's exercise, it's not ho-hum, it's just hum without the ho. I know. Okay. Go ahead. It's worth it. Because here's what I'm talking about right now. The first book dedicated solely to humming The Humming Effect, Sound and Healing for Health and Happiness, was published by Simon & Schuster in 2017, and it shares numerous studies documenting the benefits of humming or chanting like the mantra Om for 5 minutes, right? Here's what happens when you do this. Your blood pressure and heart rate lower. You have reduced levels of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. It increases your lymphatic circulation, which helps to clear toxins from your body. It increases levels of melatonin, which can enhance your sleep. It increases oxygen levels in your cells. That results in healing, so no small amount of beans there. It releases endorphins that can help relieve pain. It increases levels of nitric oxide, which is a molecule associated with vasodilation and the promotion of healing. And it releases oxytocin, which is the love hormone, which helps us to create feelings of trust and belonging and connection. Now, the book's authors, Andy and Jonathan Goldman, describe themselves as students of both science and spirituality. And these two longtime leaders in the field of sound healing write that sound is vibration, and vibration has powerful energy, right? We know that the vibration of an opera singer's voice can break glass. The vibration of a humble hum can affect subatomic particles and shift molecular structures in our bodies. These vibrations have the ability to heal and transform us. Humming has extraordinarily physiological effects, reducing stress, inducing calm, enhancing sleep, and healing us in incredible ways. So, guess what we're gonna do? Right. Now, I'm not Tom Ellinger. He's not with us today. I don't have anybody up here to help us with some great humming exercise that's that we're all going to follow the same tune. And I don't know that we need to follow the same humming tune. And here's why. Because you don't have to hum very loudly for that vibration to go on in your chest. In fact, I've noticed that when I'm humming, I think I'm humming loudly, but I'm really not. It's just that it resonates so deeply in you that you can feel it. So let's take a breath. And let's get comfortable uncrossing arms or legs or anything else that you need to do to feel like you're open to the spirit, to the moment, to the whatever this is. And then you can om, you can ah, you can ooh, or you can hum. But let's just try an inhale, and then on the exhale, whatever vibration sound you've got. So inhale, and wow. Ooh, that's powerful stuff, right? Feel your chakras all aligned. And I don't know about all that stuff, but I feel like that's a throat chakra or a heart chakra going on right there, right? So what I've got a few minutes of just some nice little nature scenes and a little bit of underlying music. And what I'm inviting you into is a space of humming. Also, the reason I got onto this was I swear I heard a soundbite, and I couldn't find it anywhere this week, that said something about when you're humming, it's hard to think about anything else. Yay, right? Do you need that when you're getting into a tiff with your partner or your child, right? And you need just a second to pull you back and reset, try a second or a breath or two of humming, right? If the news has got you down, well, turn it off for one thing. And then maybe try a little bit of humming, or you're in a moment of profound grief or loss. You can try a little bit of this it helps to reset your vagus nerve and all this physiological, spiritual stuff that's connected. So you can hum however you want on the inhale, and then out on the exhale, you can hum a melody, however you need to do. Let's fill this room with vibrations for the next couple of minutes. right? You can think while you're doing it. But while I was doing it, I was thinking, oh, I don't use the whole of the singing bowl that often, but I was like, oh, I should give it a whirl today since we're doing vibrations. So here's our big singing bowl. Barb. I'm gonna have to, hold on.
This reminds me that in therapy, one of the things that my therapist suggested was either humming or singing
Yeah.
as a way to reduce anxiety and do all the things you said.
Right.
My first thought when you talked about how oxytocin is released when we do that, ladies, the other time in your life when lots of oxytocin is released is during childbirth, but this is a whole lot easier.
Yes. This is a lot easier.
And I just wanted to offer out another possible thing to hum to. I've been singing that song that we sang a few weeks ago, How Can Anyone Ever Tell You That
Yeah.
You're Anything? Well, maybe humming it is better. I do it in the shower, and if you hum it, you don't have to remember the words
That's
or
true.
all of them.
We've got a closing hymn coming up later that this version has a little bit of humming in it, and you'll all appreciate it. It's a favorite hymn of a lot of folks. So, right, so good vibrations. That's what we got going on. So that's a daily spiritual practice. You can do it in your car at a red light, right? You can pull this wherever you need it. Here's another great daily spiritual practice, generosity, right? So half of our summer offering is being shared with Veep this summer. Nice segue. Which is the largest food pantry in the Twin Cities. It provides access to healthy food, social services, and financial assistance for folks in need. You've all been doing a fantastic job this summer. We're getting lots of money to help them along. They're one of our favorite sharing partners. So will the ushers please come forward to take the offering? By the way, choir practice starts later this month on the, is it the 28th? So those of you that are interested in getting out some of your vocal good vibrations can send an email to Nicole or just show up on Wednesday, the 28th at 6:30. Choir is at 6:30 on Wednesdays starting October 28th. August 28th. I don't even know what month it is. All right, so I've been talking about spiritual practice, kind of a little series that I've done here. And I tend to do this in the summer because it lends itself to being a good engaged conversation. There's usually a little bit fewer people here in the summer, so it's easier to have those kind of engaged services. And I've been talking about it because it's important, and well, it's important to me because probably my number one role, if you will, being the minister here, is the spiritual health of the congregation. So that's it's like literally my job, right? Which is a weird job. I'm gonna just say it's a weird job to kind of be the coach for people's spiritual health. And by the way, I see my job a lot as a coach. I'm not a star player here. I'm the one on the sidelines who, when you come off the field and you're tired and beaten up, I either have you sit down for a while or I give you a pep talk or whatever I need to do and then send you back out there. So by no means do I see myself as a star player on this team. I'm the coach, taking care of your health, making sure you're ready, giving you training materials. That's my job, right? So this stuff for me is really important to help all you guys, because there are so many things in our lives that can bog us down. So we're talking about spirituality and spiritual practices. Now, spiritual practices are defined as activities you do to deepen your relationship with the sacred and or the world around you. These practices help you to connect to whatever you describe as something more, right? Whether you call that nature or universal love or the spirit of life or God or goddess or whatever your name is for it, or whatever your ambiguous, awkward, unnameable, but I'm still holding it thing is, it connects you with that, right? And these practices, they enable you to become actively engaged with your inner true self, the depth of your being. Right? And they expand the breadth of your experiences, encouraging you to relate in a particular way to other people and the whole of creation. That includes animate and inanimate objects. That includes living things and non-living things. That includes forces of nature like earth, water, fire, air, change. Think of any kind of force that we have. Right, thunderstorms, last night, what a show, what a light show that was between 9 and 10 o'clock. So in this book, Everyday Spiritual Practices, Susan Maker-Seal writes, we can practice spirituality in our daily lives, in our daily activities by remembering pause, pay attention, and feel appreciation for what is before us. Paying attention means using all of our senses in being in the world and in the moment. Stop a moment. Feel the chair in which you are sitting. Notice the temperature around you. Listen for the sounds of your background symphony. Appreciate the colors of your clothes, your skin, the sky, or the ceiling. Focus on appreciating the peace out of which you have found in whatever time you're experiencing. Remember the feel of oneness with creation and try to bring back yourself into that feeling of being in that. And again, practices can take a few moments, and they're not bound by time or place or a particular ritual. And I always say, everybody kind of knows what that feels like. Sometimes people have a particular place where they feel that. I always say, the ocean is, or looking up, if you're out in the rural areas, looking up at the vast sky at night. Those are two places in particular where people often feel the vastness of everything, the hugeness of this life that we're a part of, You feel that while simultaneously, at the same time, you feel small and insignificant within that, but you also know that you matter, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you had that feeling? Like you're like, whoa, I feel small and insignificant in the place of things. And yet, there's this deep sense that you belong in that place of things, right? And so that's what we're after in those moments. So I just want to share a little bit about this book. I found this book when I was in seminary, and it just talks about, it's called Everyday Spiritual Practices, and it's edited together by Scott Alexander. And I'm just going to go over the table of contents, because the things that it mentions for spiritual practice are things that a lot of us do every day, right? Now, we've already talked about some of those things like retreats and Sabbaths and prayer and whatnot. Another one that it lists in terms of contemplation is, I would say, reading and writing. And now you can do that in innumerable ways, but one thing I got on my trip to California, aside from this beautiful blazer, was at a gift shop in Carmel. By the way, if you want to buy really swanky cheese for your Olympics, all the international cheeses, Carmel, California is swank central. They got all the international cheeses. But I also found this little kind of daily meditations of Emerson's while I was there, and I was like, oh, there's an Emerson book. And I mean, you could journal off of these things and find it, right? I just opened this up. Here we go. That what we seek, we shall find. What we flee from, flees from us. I mean, you can take a journal practice with something like this, or a book of Mary Oliver, or your favorite Taylor Swift songs even. I mean, those things are out there, but the point is just to spend a moment contemplating on whatever it is that shines for you that day in your reading or your listening, and take a few moments to think or write about it. There's also a section in here about engaging the body as spiritual practice, and they talk about movement, martial arts, yoga, which I think Candace is leading our service next week, so we'll have a little bit of that. Exercise as spiritual practice, especially runners have this kind of thing a lot of times. I mean, I personally don't find running to be. I'm not going to run unless somebody's chasing me, but for others, like exercise or maybe golfing or other kinds of sport, you know, that can be a real thing where people feel connected. Fasting can sometimes be that, and meal times in general can be that, can be a spiritual segue for things. If you say a grace beforehand and like practice gratitude, if you do some mindfulness eating with your first bite or two, just kind of acknowledging textures and flavors and that kind of thing. There's also spiritual practice that we engage through our relationships, right? If you look at your relationship, how does that connect you spiritually to everything that's beyond you? Whether that's a partnership or a marriage, a friendship. Certainly we feel a lot of that in parental relationships. I think that's one of the ones that shines the most. Folks that are parents have you have a connection to the future, right? There's a longevity that you experience through your children. And also, I think the song from the 4-year-old is a clear reminder. Sometimes younger people in our lives, whether they're our children or somebody else's children, have a way of bringing us back to ourselves because we sometimes just really get away from ourselves. Action, social action, that can be a spiritual practice, right? When we're engaging in anti-racism work, when we're engaging in being welcoming for LGBTQ folks, when we're getting out the vote, when we're hosting immigrant refugee families from across the globe, you know, who have come here that we've helped, like we can look at that through the framework of spiritual practice. I mean, yes, it's a helpful, practical, pragmatic thing, but it's also our values, and why are those things our values? How are we connected? You know, take time to focus on the compassion of it and the joy. This is the other thing. Our vision statement says that we are focused here on justice and joy. And I think it's real easy to see the first J, the justice, but we sometimes can forget about that those things are supposed to go together, right? The whole point of doing justice is to bring more joy into the world accessible for everybody, right? And so don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of that and find that joy in your own work when you're doing it, because otherwise it gets really easy to feel overwhelmed by the amount of work that there is to do. So engage it in your social action, also through things like simple living, right? Taking a little anti-capitalist, anti-consumerism view of the world isn't a bad thing to do. We can do this whether we're doing it. So if you're on your Buy Nothing page, hey, that's a good thing. Do you all know about Buy Nothing pages? Okay. If you don't know, ask somebody else and let them tell you about Buy Nothing pages, and, you know, be anti-capitalist and use Buy Nothing pages sometimes. They're great. Or networking with people to get help with things. By the way, you can do that on your Buy Nothing page too. Like sometimes if you need help with a task instead of, although if you are gonna hire somebody, just saying, women-owned companies, companies of color, like look around, like that's a way that you can do it too. Like look at your capitalism as a spiritual practice. Boy, that's a ride, let me tell you. I did that once when I was trying to buy socks, and it was rough. Trying to find socks that I felt good about buying. And I was in college at the time, so I couldn't afford like the $20 a pair at the co-op. I could afford the $20 for the 8 pair at Target. But finding ones at Target that I felt like I was comfortable buying that weren't supporting something terrible, it was really, really, really hard. It took me 2 weeks to find a package that had something on the back. So, I mean, like those are things, like what happens when you look at those things that we do every day as spiritual practice. I know we've talked a lot in the last year about eating more plant-based foods. Right? That's something, because we know it's better for the climate, right? We know it's a more compassionate way of eating when we think about animals and when we think about our own bodies too. So those things, look at those things not just as the action that they are, but also the spiritual connection. How do they connect you with this greater sense of being, with this greater sense of oneness and grounding? They also lift up things like recycling, our anti-racism work, generosity again. And then there's the creative side. There's a great chapter in here on quilting written by Lori Boschbaum, who was a minister here quite a few years ago. There's needlework, gardening, cooking, artwork, like all of those things can be looked at as a spiritual practice. And I want to give you guys a few minutes to share anything that I left out, maybe. What things might you do? And I want this to be quick because I want to make sure that we're on time this morning. But does anybody have something? Well, let's get some microphones that they're doing that work as a great spiritual practice. And then if you want to know more about how that feels for them, stick around afterwards and maybe have conversation. Yes. Hold on, Steve. You got to wait for a microphone because otherwise the Zoom people can't hear you.
Introduce yourself. Tell us your name.
Okay.
I'm Steve Vincent. A very simple spiritual practice. It comes out of Thich Nhat Hanh's concept of engaged Buddhism.
Yeah.
Is whenever you're in a line in a grocery store or any retail outlet, if you actually, with real compassion, tell the person, have a good day, it's amazing how much it changes you. Another thing about lines, you get just amazing responses if you just ask them in a heartfelt way, have a good day, because they're just going, people are just saying, have a good day, and nothing happens. But if you do it with a heartfelt manner. The other thing about lines is that if you happen to be a Buddhist mindset, is central to Buddhist is focusing on breathing in and out in a way that calms yourself, keeps your focus on. You can practice that while you're in line, and it transforms a really drag of an experience into something that leaves you feeling better by the time you make it to the end of the line. So 2 very simple things.
The thing I like about the line at the grocery store is I stand there like this. Or work on my balance.
Oh, yeah, you can work on your core.
I think that many things that we do that align with our values make us feel more integrated as a human being and connect us to something bigger. And another, you mentioned recycling, but I'll just do a shout out for organics recycling because if you don't have a place near you to drop off your recycled organics, you can bring it here because we have collection for that too.
Right, that's what I do, because I live in an apartment, so I bring my compost here twice a week. So,
Me too. Mimi?
maybe-
Is it working?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm Mimi, and I am helping my neighbor declutter her hoarder house. And that's been wonderful. One, it takes my mind off my husband, who's in memory care. And I know I'm helping somebody, and I have 2 women that help me, and we're called Deb's Dream Team. And it was the other day when Tammy said, Mimi, you must love Deb a lot to do this. And she said, and Liz and I love you a lot to help you.
That brings me to one thing that I always feel like I need to remind people about. That's an amazing thing, and I want to remind you all that when it's your turn to need help, that you let yourself get help, right? Let it sink in, because I know, trust, everybody struggles with this. Oh, but I don't like when I'm the one, I feel like a burden, blah, 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 blah. I hear this all the time in my line of work, right? But everybody here will agree that they feel that they're at their best when they're helping somebody else. Am I right? Yes. Oh, I feel great. All right, well, give somebody else a chance, okay? That's all I'm saying.
You have to
Like you're
let
do-
us help.
You're doing them a favor. You're letting them, you're inviting people to be their best selves when you're on the receiving end of help. So think about it that way, because that's what you feel when you're doing it. And so it's okay, and you're still a part of that whole thing, right? But this whole, we have to do everything ourselves, but then, yeah, it's not working. So make sure it's working on both sides for you. Make sure that you're feeling, and most people, when they do receive help, I mean, like the outpouring of gratitude and deep connect feelings that they have, those of you that have been in positions to be receiving help know what that feels like, and you deserve to have that feeling in your life as well as the feeling of helping others. Yeah, Seth.
And some might ask how doing computer work can be a spiritual practice, but I tell you it is. If I went out into the world and I was building killer robots right now, I would be guilty of a great crime again, a great sin, depending on how you want to define it. You know, but I don't. I use that power responsibly. When power is in your hand, whatever you do is a spiritual practice, because if you don't exercise power with spirit, you end up corrupting yourself and the world around you.
Right.
So my work is I work in resale. I create platforms that let people buy and sell used things from each other and keep their values in their community. And I find that to be very uplifting. I go to work every day with a clear purpose, and I can see in the data the impact that I have on the waste streams that we produce and the communities that we serve.
Yeah, I think that's really important too. So, I mean, those of us that have jobs, you know, how are you spiritually connected to the world through the work that you do? You know, and if you can't figure that out through the work that you do, then maybe you can think about it as the workplace that you create.
We have a contribution on Zoom from Carolyn. She has a practice called Morning Pages. Write nonstop for 3 pages, as fast as you can, no editing.
Yeah, I think, is that part of Artist's Way? Does anybody, yeah, I think that's part of, there's a great book called Artist's Way. Yep. All right, I'm gonna run through a couple of offerings that we have here before we close out for this morning. Because the church year, we just had the program council meeting yesterday. It's gonna be another month, and then we're back in full swing. So here are some things that you might consider as spiritual practice. We do have Soul Matters groups. So y'all know that we have monthly themes. The Soul Matters groups, that's like a group where you get together with 5 or 6 other people to deeply discuss whatever the theme is that month. Like September is invitation. I think October is deep listening. So you discuss how those things come into play in your life with others. There's choir, fabulous resource. Volunteering downstairs with the kids. You get to be with kids, like the 4-year-old being so cute, filling your spirit, right? You get those moments, which I need. I try to spend time with the kids here as much as I can. If you're teaching the older kids, you learn stuff. while you're teaching, so that's really cool. And you give their parents a break to be up here to get their spiritual needs met as well, because they need a break and they need their spiritual needs met. So when that sign-up sheet comes around for signing up to teach downstairs or work the nursery this year, I hope you'll all consider putting your names on there, because it takes a village, and it's not just the parents who need to be doing that volunteer work down there. In fact, sometimes it's not the parents who should be doing that volunteer work down there. It's all of us that should be helping out, so please sign up for that. Other volunteering, I have a clipboard. Yeah, you knew I had a clipboard. This is for hospitality. Laura, can you get that going? So we have a month left of summer signups for hospitality, where we just sign up as we will. It's on there.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So we need ushers, greeters, people to bring treats now through Labor Day. And then after that, we'll get back to using our hospitality teams. If you are not on a hospitality team and you are a member here, unless you're super volunteered out in other things, I highly encourage you all to join a hospitality team. The more people we have on our teams, the less we have to draw on every member of every team to do the work. So we have 5 teams, and if we have 10 people on there and we only need 5 people to do the work each Sunday, or 6 people, that means there's 4 people that can be out of town or not be used that week, and it gives everybody a break. So the more people we have on the teams, the better. Who wants to give a testimony about being on a hospitality team real quick? Holly, what do you get out of it? I know.
First of all, it's not a lot of work. I mean, there's no preparation involved in this. There's
Right.
no homework. You just have to show up. Although there is the added now task of putting the sign out on the end of the street, but
Right.
no big deal. And it's really a lot of fun. You really get to say hi to everybody as they come in, and it's so easy. And so we'd really enjoy it. And if you're a good cook, if you're a good baker, we always need treats afterwards, and you get a lot of compliments if you make things, don't you, Mimi? So please, yeah, if you don't want to be on a committee, because it sounds like too much work, if you don't want to do that, then get on a hospitality team, because you're still helping out everybody, but it's not a lot of work.
Right. Hospitality. Not that a committee is a lot of work. Right. Well, it depends on the committee. Barb, although the mic went out.
Hello, is it working? Okay. I'm Barb Becker. I was a hospitality team leader, and if you don't have enough people on your team, it's a lot of work. So please join, because we all want it to be not a lot of work. So
Yes.
please, please.
We were kind of there before the pandemic. We had a few more people. So we're getting, the membership is building back up. But if you're a new person that's coming, it's a great way for you to get to know people. If you're somebody who's been here a long time, it's a great way for you to get to know the new people, right? Because you're saying hello to them and you might not know them. If you don't like people, I know you're there, the introverts who are like, banana bread. Well, you can usher. You don't have to say much if you're ushering. You hand out a order of service and you count the money and you hand out microphones, so that's a role. You don't have to be the extroverts as greeters, that's fantastic. The introverts ushering, if you're kind of middle of the road, and if you're really quiet, then it's banana bread all the way for you, or cheese and crackers, like that can be your service. So I just really want to encourage people, and also if you're somebody who struggles, like I want my spiritual practice to be going to church more regularly. Anybody relate to that? Like, you're like, I want to go, but I forget to go, and I really should go, and I haven't gone for a month. Guess what? If you're on that thing, you're going to be reminded. You can sign up every 5 weeks and say that you'll be there, and then you'll be at church every 5 weeks, which maybe you should do more than that. But I'm not here to judge that, but I'm just saying that'll get you here at least once a month. Barb?
I was gone for 3 months at least this winter, and so I've been on hospitality teams since I came back, but I don't know about taking the sign.
Oh, that's a new thing. Don't worry about that. There's just a new task. There'll be
Okay.
training.
Okay.
There'll be big signups for the teams come fall, but please keep it on your radar. For now, you can just sign up for, something in the remaining weeks that we have left before we get rolling in September. But September, we'll revamp the teams from last year. We'll have a huge push to get other folks to join and get them on those teams as well. It's a really great thing to do. Other things that you can do here for your spiritual practice, there's a UU Christian Fellowship group that meets once a month here. If you have some leanings towards that expression of spirituality, you can go to that. It's kind of looking at scriptures through a Unitarian Universalist lens and or Christian lens, I guess, depending on where you're at with that. Also, the Wicca Church of Minnesota usually meets here one Saturday a month. They rent our space, so if you're interested in those types of expressions of spirituality, you can talk with Dan, who's not here today, but he's a part of that group. And then new this year, we're gonna start it probably sometime in September. I'm not exactly sure when it will start, but we're gonna open up a midweek centering space, which will be on Wednesdays. Choir starts at 6:30, so this will probably be at 5:30, maybe for just a half an hour. And it might be a little different each week. It might be, Nicole might lead some, kind of meditative singing one week. It might be just a silent meditation. It might be a sound bath. It won't be like a sermon, but it'll just be a centering space so you can come midweek and kind of like just have your good vibrations and go back to the rest of the week. Sound good? I hope you'll all check that out if you're able to. And I'm hoping that it works for people to stop on their way home from work, but we'll see. All right. Our closing hymn is 1064, which is Blue Boat Home, probably the favorite of UU hymns. But I chose the video that's actually Peter Mayer, who's the composer of the piece. So this is from his release of the song, and he's singing it, but it's got a little humming interlude and a little humming at the end. So it's a little bit different than the hymnal version because it's the released recorded version. But still, we can all sing along and enjoy that little hum that he does in the middle.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me. Sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue
Will you all please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the fire of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. I want to close with these words from Roger Hudson from 10 Poems to Open Your Heart. When the heart opens, we forget ourselves and the world pours in. This world, and also the invisible world of meaning that sustains everything that was and ever shall be. When the heart opens, everything matters, and this world and the next become one and the same. Blessed be, amen. Have a good week, everyone.